babe. What up, Donald? Millennial Gamer, always with the inside knowledge. Always with the inside knowledge. Let's see. Let's get this out. Okay, that's good. Okay. Let me let Lilah know we're on. Hope everyone brought their drink today. The show's still on, though. SpongeBob's still on. It's unfortunate that the creator died. That's super sad. Like, that show was, like, genius for, like, 3 seasons. And then it kind of got, I don't know, stale a little bit. Chalk Zone. I remember Chalk Zone. Does anyone remember Time Patrol? Hold on. Time Patrol. It was on Cartoon Network. No, Time Squad. It was Time Squad. This show was the shit. This show was pretty dope. Yo, Teen Titans? That was my shit too. The original Teen Titans. Damn. Time Squad was so good. I was all about Rugrats, Doug. Like, I was all about those 90s Nick shows. That shit was... Those shits defined me. Kurz the Cowardly Dog, all that crap, man. Yo, Teen Titans, that shit was... Mwah. That shit was amazing. So, today, celebrating Lilah's birthday, whenever she decides to show up to her own birthday party. As per special request of her, we are going to listen to Sam Cedar Libertarian videos, of course. And we're also going to listen to Sam Cedar dunking on Dave Rubin, as per requested by her. So, also got a little wine. Just a glass. I haven't drank in like 2 weeks, so I'm breaking my rule for her. So, I also got her a choco pie, Hello Kitty choco pie that I will eat in her honor. Did you know? So here's something I didn't know, Donald. So apparently, you know, there's 2 versions of the Teen Titans song. One where it's in like, one where it's in Japanese, and then They had another version where it was like more serious. Do you recall that? And I didn't know that they play the lighter theme for like lighter episodes, and they play the more heavy, the more realistic, gritty one for like serious episodes. I didn't know that. It was like a tweet I saw. Now, can I confirm this? No, because I haven't seen that show in like 15 years. Or like 10 years. Okay, so let me get the videos ready. Yeah, they had the best. That was like the time. I would say early 90s too. Early 90s had some good stuff. Early 90s to like early 2000s was good. And then like there was like a lull in like the new millennia with cartoons and stuff. They weren't as good. Okay, so yesterday I found a bunch of Sam Cedar videos dealing with libertarians. So we're gonna watch those, and then we're also gonna watch some Dave Rubin stuff. Let's see. Well, shit, now I'm gonna end up putting it on. I might get a copyright, so I don't want to actually play that. It was such a good theme. Such a good show. I can't... they should have, like... Here's the thing, like, they should have, like, just ended it correctly. Or, like, you know, had a definitive ending. Instead of, like, going to, like, Teen Titans Go... Like, people are pissed because they don't have a resolution. There's no ending, you know? They should have just ended it. But they got canceled, so that shit sucks. Dude, that 90s Spider-Man cartoon, I might have expressed that show was amazing. The Batman one, the Superman one, Justice League, yo, those were all, like... I don't know why the old school cartoons of these properties are better than the theatrical versions, than the movies. Like Justice League is infinitely better. The worst episode of Justice League, the cartoon, is better than the Justice League movie by just like a margin that's just like there's fucking it's unmeasurable. Oh man, there's some good Dave Rubin stuff here. Let's see, we get one more. Okay, I think we have enough. All right, so let's start. Let's start. Lilah should be here. If she's not, we'll do this in her honor. But I want to get back to work. Scooby-Doo. I watched Scooby-Doo, but I never like really loved it. Cheers to Lilah. Cheers. Woohoo. Tastes even better if you haven't drank in a while. Woohoo. Okay. Let's pause this music. Let's pause that. Hope you guys had a good day today. And here we go. Hang on. And here we go.
Who's on the phone?
It's Jim.
Is it, Jim? Is this Jimmy Reefer Cake or Jim?
Jim.
Oh, okay.
You know me.
Jim? Is this, are you calling? You from Maine?
Yeah, Uncle Biggs. Just in time, man.
No.
Oh, okay. Sorry. I guess
Pennsylvania.
570. All right. Where are you calling from, Jim?
I told you, Pennsylvania.
Oh, okay. What's on your mind, Jim?
You know me.
I just had a little question regarding the...
Nice. It's always a good day when
Benghazi
class get
hearings.
canceled.
Okay.
Now, I just have a quick question.
DK
Those
did
of
mess me
you
up.
On the left who
I'm not
are-
even done yet either.
You were going after the Republican...
Hello, Lilah. Happy birthday, Lilah. I have a few things for you, Lilah. First, I have a cheers. Cheers. Next, I have this choco pie. I have this choco pie that I'm going to eat in your honor. And, hold on, I got something else. Let's see. Let's see what. Here. This is so stupid. Here. Hold on. Shit. Fuck. Donald's going crazy already. Fuck, why isn't... Hold on. Good gifts take time. Hold on. Let's show this shit. Fucking A. Alright, well. Here. I got you a birthday cake. Blow out the candles. Blow out the candles. I didn't ask your age, but I got you 3, 6, 9 candles. Each for every day. How wise you are. And when you're done with that, we can cut the cake. Yeah. We could put some yas on it. Some yas. You can also put some holy shit. That's an impressive cake. You can also do this if you want. You can play with some fire. Whatever you prefer. This is your birthday. If you like chocolate, you like strawberries. We have so many cakes here available for you, Lilah. So many cakes. We have drawn ones. We have ridiculous, impossible ones. It's all for you. It's all for you. It's all for you. And I also have so we have Sam Cedar videos for you. I actually after the stream yesterday, I went through, got some Sam Cedar videos, libertarians, and we have some Dave Rubens. So we have plenty of entertainment here. So, cheers again. Enjoy your day. I got a glass of wine. I haven't drank in like 2 weeks, but I will break that rule for you. So let's enjoy ourselves. Let's have some drinks, and let's listen to libertarians being completely dismantled. Let's do it.
In office for their actions in the Benghazi hearings. I just want to ask you, if what happened at the Libyan embassy had happened during a Republican administration, wouldn't you on the left be out for blood just as much as those on the right currently are now?
As far as I know, there were something like 13 attacks on embassies under the Bush administration. I don't remember anything, and much of that time I was doing a national radio program. I don't ever remember calling for investigations regarding it. No.
Well, that's a shame, because they should have been investigated under Bush just like they should be investigated now.
Okay. And what is it that you anticipate? What is it that we're looking to find?
Well, quite simply, that the administration had lied about the events, and
Ooh, tiramisu. Okay, that's a good one. All the other cakes are garbage. The tiramisu, that's where it's at. Hang on one second. Okay, I'm back. Politicon. Yo, I'm still like, I still haven't booked my fucking flight. I still haven't booked my flight or my hotel. I have to do that ASAP. But still thinking about it. Should you get whiskey or vodka? I'd get whiskey. Whiskey you can chill with. Oh, scotch. I don't like scotch at all. Yeah, just be careful with the melee game. Just because you have just because they've, have a bad rap with alcohol doesn't mean you have to, just take it slow. All right, let's continue.
That they are manipulating events for political gain, just as Bush did. And also that they are continuing to find scapegoats, as they did with Basili Nakula, to...
I have yet to book my hotel or flight or buy tickets at all. I did find decently priced hotels and flights, so most likely. But I'll probably, I'll let you guys know within like a few days. But I think I want to. I think I should, right? Because I'm not just like thinking about the money. I'm thinking about this, but it might be a fun trip, I can meet up with Corin, meet up with Lilah if she's going, and then Donald's going. So we can. I think it'll be fun. It'll be worth the money. I'm thinking too much about like, oh, it'll be too much money and all that crap. Like I can afford it, but I think I should go. Right. I should go. I think I should go. It'll be fun. I think. Hold on. Let me see. Tennessee, Nashville. Let me see what the weather is, because I think it's gonna be like 80 degrees. I think it's gonna be like 90s. Never mind. It's going to be. It's cool. Before it was like hot, and we checked it like 2 weeks ago. So it's like 60s, 70s. That's not bad. That's nice. It's nice weather. Yeah, I've heard Nashville's nice too, so I think I'll check it out. I'll report back to you guys.
Shot to avoid culpability.
So culpability for lying about the events, and so you don't accept the idea that that they didn't have full accounting of what had actually taken place for 2 or 3 weeks. You believe that they had full accounting that day, and they should have made everything they knew public.
Yes, I've got several articles right up now on the Reason magazine website that outline testimony which contradicts the administration's official story.
Okay. What's the big takeaway? They lied about what? That they were aware that there were members of Al Qaeda affiliated groups that were there?
All right, Lilah, how about this? Let's commit to it. How's this? If you can afford it, go. I'll go as well. Let's both commit to it, and then we can meet up with Donald. Get hip a bar. That might be fun. Let's commit. How's that? If you can afford it. If you can't, I can understand that. But if you can go, let's just go. How about this? We put our fist down. Let's do it.
They lied. Well, they lied about the reason, for one thing, blaming it on Nakula's video.
Right. They thought it was that video, and they reversed that, I believe, within 2 or 3 weeks, correct?
Yes, but Nakula is still in prison.
Well, no, but his video was the reason why that guy is in prison has nothing to do with Benghazi. It has to do with him. Because he had securities violations or some type of financial fraud violations, he wasn't allowed to publish video.
Definitely.
He broke
100%.
his parole. He broke his parole.
Hey,
It had
Murdoch,
nothing
what's up,
to
buddy?
do with Benghazi.
Sam, I'm going to say a little something you told me a while back. If you believe that Nakula's imprisonment didn't have anything to do with the administration trying to turn him into a scapegoat, you need to take the needle out of your arm.
I see. Okay, so you're saying that they wanted to scapegoat this guy even though he had been arrested, I believe, and put in prison before Benghazi.
Yes, he had been arrested. But I want to tell you something. September 12th, 2012, Reverend Stephen D. Martin, CEO of the New Evangelical Partnership for the Common Good. I have no sympathy for anyone
Murdoch, what are you doing, Murdoch?
But I have even less sympathy for filmmakers
Why you gotta be a party pooper, Murdoch?
Who knowingly incite violence. September 13th, 2012, Hillary Clinton. I also want to take a moment to address the video circulating on the internet that has led to these protests.
This was a function of Egypt. You're aware that there were massive protests in Egypt.
Yes, there were protests in Egypt, and they wrongfully lumped them all together.
Yes,
they didn't know.
They wrongfully lumped the Benghazi protests with the far more potentially harmful protests in Egypt.
Right, I understand it. And this is just more, they're scapegoating. They are trying to...
Scapegoating? What are you talking about? The guy sold the video to a Christian Coptic cable television outlet in Egypt. He was on parole And his parole clearly said you're not allowed to publish video because you have used it in the past to commit fraud.
Well, there is a difference between committing fraud. There's a difference between being in prison
He
for
broke
fraud
his
and being in
parole.
prison because
He
the
broke his
administration-
parole.
because-
It had nothing to do with the Obama administration. The guy broke his parole.
Then why did Hillary Clinton and Susan Rice, prominent members of the Obama administration,
Because
jump
there were
forward
massive
and say that the
protests
video-
in Egypt.
Yes, but they lumped them in with Libya.
Because they
Are you getting
thought
sore?
that was the
A good excuse not to indulge in drinking is if you've been drinking enough already. So, hey Montezuma, what's up, buddy? I haven't asked him. I don't have a direct line to him. I can't just like call and be like, "Yo, this is what's going on." But I don't know. I don't know. It's not really up to Kyle. It's really up to Joe Rogan. Like, so I don't know. Like even if like Kyle was like to mention him on Joe Rogan, he'd be like, "Oh, you have to have Chomsky on." Like he has to be aware of Chomsky. I don't even know if he knows about Chomsky. Like, maybe he does, but I don't know. But I don't actually have a direct line to Kyle where I can just mention that, you know, and then he'll mention it. Like it's, yeah. I'd like to see that debate, but I don't know. It's up to Joe, you know. Yeah, Kyle's going on Joe Rogan like next week after Politicon, so. And Chomsky, does Chomsky even want to do that? Like the dude's like what, 80 years old, 80 plus.
protest in Libya as well.
No, it's not what they thought. It's the story they spun.
I see. Because
Yeah.
they needed to get this one guy.
No, they didn't need to get him. He was just the most convenient scapegoat.
Yes, okay.
Sam, you are trying to defend an administration that has proven itself just as corrupt as the Bush administration, and you don't.
I'm not
see
defending the
irony or
administration.
hypocrisy in it.
I'm not even sure what they're being accused of.
Jim, do you believe this Jahar Sarnav is a scapegoat too? Are you one of these free Jahar people?
What?
Do you believe that
No, I
Jahar...
don't believe in. What, you're talking about that free Jahar nonsense?
Yes, do you believe in that too? Do you believe Jahar and
No, I don't
Tamerlan
believe-
are scapegoats?
No, I don't believe in that kind of nonsense.
Yeah. Okay. So you're saying that this whole Benghazi thing was a huge cover up because it was going to derail President Obama's re-election.
Yeah, Chomsky's super
No, I
old.
don't think it had anything to do with the re-election. I just think it had to do with shunning culpability. Gregory Hicks, Foreign Service Officer and ex-Deputy Chief of a mission in Libya, said that U.S. Special Forces based in Tripoli could have responded to the attacks. but
Yes,
they were detained.
he was not a military guy. The Joint Chief of Staff have said no, and I wouldn't do it again. I wouldn't send 7 guys into that place without knowing what was going on the ground, because you're going to have another Black Hawk Down situation or whatever it is.
Yeah, but you don't think it's okay then for the administration to lie about it and then have it come to light later?
What's that? I don't think they knew, frankly. I don't think they knew.
Yeah, no.
I mean, of
It's
all the
amazing,
things,
Stan, how a
Jim,
guy like you
that
can-
I sit here on a daily basis and criticize this administration for, Benghazi has to be the least significant, the most fanciful, the
Drinking
most
some
ridiculous.
wine for me.
And for some reason, that's the one you're latching on to.
Because it just amazes me, again, to see what massive fucking hypocrites you on the left are.
Well, we'll have to cut that swearing out. But of all the things that I criticize the Obama administration, Benghazi's so far
I don't
on
care.
the.
I'll swear all I want. If it gets you fined by the FCC, I'm happy.
Oh, really? All right.
Yeah.
Well, then, good day, sir. Call back in 15 minutes when we're not running this hour on radio. Then you can call back. Of all the things to fixate on Benghazi,
Well,
we've spent countless hours talking about
Oh yeah, that's right. Chomsky like answers everyone's emails, right? Like he's like you could email Chomsky and be like, "Hey, what's up?" and he'll like respond to you. That's kind of wild. Oh shit, I did something. Yeah, actually, I was just rewatching the Bernie one when he went on Rogan, and the dude's like I was actually talking to a friend about Bernie's policies, and it just got me more excited about him. Like he really needs to. I'm thinking about doing a monthly, contribution to him, like reoccurring, like just automatic payments, to him at $27. I think I want to do that because I really want to see this guy get elected. I think he'd do great things. And I think we all really need to do something, so he does that. We can't just like sit back and hope it happens, we all got to pitch in.
15 minutes when we're not running this.
Well,
We've spent countless hours talking about the things like signature strikes, things like the assertions by this administration of its capacity to kill American citizens and supposed combatants. We have talked. We have spent hours on talking about what their Guantanamo policy. We have spent hours on talking about the failure of the Department of Justice to go after the true criminal cartels in the banking industry.
Yeah, I should go through those
we have
comments.
talked about the failure of the administration to recognize legalization. We have gone on and on and on. And Benghazi, unbelievable. Unbelievable. I just the misplaced criticism. I'm honestly I'm not convinced now that Jim isn't some type of paid operative from Obama for America. I mean, there's nothing more than the Obama administration wants than impeachment hearings over Benghazi, short of perhaps this IRS stuff. Anything. They would love it at this point.
if that's true, then major props to Obama for America for getting it super realistic and making sure Jim name dropped Reason.com.
Right. Well done. Touche.
All right, that's one.
And then we also got an email from somebody who wasn't as thoughtful.
That was the
Well,
email
look,
was
I
thinking
have no
of.
problem with people criticizing Michael in emails. That is actually the least of the issue that I take with this email.
When
But
Sam gets critical emails, it's like a whole emotional crisis in the office.
no,
we
no,
take
no,
care
no,
of him.
no. That's not true. I
Yeah.
get critical emails all the time. But there
Yeah,
is
you
one
do.
thing that I don't like in an email. And in fact, maybe we should do this now.
There are several things I didn't particularly like.
Well,
about
I
this
don't
email.
mind. I don't mind anybody slagging you. I mean, I think that seems, in many respects, very justified. But this is an email from a listener, George, a member.
Yeah, the endorsement was pretty epic. I don't think she officially endorsed him. I think she's going to do that in Queens this weekend. I think that's when it's actually going to happen. Especially if you don't know about it. Yeah, there's no like official announcement. I think she just said like I'm going to do it. You know, I think that's what happened. What Obama's last name is? That might be tough to figure it out.
It was more Nazi than Nazi-like.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's, things are getting ugly in here.
It's just like an email thing.
One of the problems that libertarians have is that reality exists. And very often, reality existing completely negates their entire political philosophy.
Hold on, I need to hear this again. Maybe I'll use it for a clip.
One of the problems that libertarians have is that reality exists. And
That's a funny. I think I'm gonna keep that one. Hold on. Libertarian here. Okay. We're going to keep this one. Reality exists.
And very often, reality existing completely negates their entire political philosophy or religion. And so often they'll attempt to get out ahead of reality and try and refute reality and the ability of people to add, I don't even know if this is 2 plus 2, this is 1 plus 1. And in this case, we have Ron Paul writing at the Ron Paul Institute for Peace and Prosperity a piece entitled "Liberty, Not Government, is Key to Containing Ebola." Liberty is not the name of a medical device, ladies and gentlemen. It is not the name of a new drug. It is just liberty. It's no coincidence that many of those countries suffering from mass Ebola outbreaks have also suffered from the plagues of dictatorship and war. True. The devastation wrought by years of war has made it impossible for these countries to develop modern healthcare infrastructure. Now, it's not just the war. It is the absence of any type of central government to bring stability, to develop basic hygienic infrastructure, like we have in this country. You'll recall that it's like cities that build sewers, and city government and federal funding, which provides things like electricity and, well, some instances, money to have things like indoor plumbing, and that happened a long time ago. And of course, also developing emergency protocols. Sometimes they don't even have the funding to do that properly. But, for example, the 14-year civil war in Liberia that left the country with almost no trained doctors. Now, I don't know that it was just the civil war itself in Liberia that left it with no trained doctors. It was the absence of institutions to train doctors. President Obama's response to the Ebola crisis has been to send 3,000 troops to West African countries to help with treatment and containment. Not just 3,000 troops, but let's let him continue. The people of Liberia and other countries would be better off if the U.S. government left them alone. Leave it to private citizens to invest in African businesses and trade with the African people. Private investment and trade would help these countries develop thriving free market economies capable of sustaining a modern healthcare infrastructure. Now, here's the question that Ron Paul ignores. What is it about the United States now, in this emergency situation that is obviously going on in West Africa, in sending troops and medical facilities, new beds, whatnot, that is preventing private investment from doing so? Are there really private investors going like, if the U.S. had not sent those troops and had not sent in those extra beds, I'd be out there right now raising angel investor money?
Yeah, we would. Call off the conference call. Get it.
Let's go back to that idea. We had the Uber.
And you remember this whole Ebola thing? This was like a huge thing back then. That was such a weird time. Yeah, right wingers won't debate it. Yeah, dude, like fucking Ann Coulter with the Kyle thing. Like, liberals don't want to debate me. And then, like, you don't debate a dude, like, who doesn't have a New York Times bestseller, who doesn't write books. Like, what the fuck? I started watching, let me see, I did the cartoon 3 years ago. Holy shit. 2019. So, probably around the election, too, as well. Maybe early 2016, because I watched them for a little bit. And then I'm like, I should do a cartoon of this dude. I think it was early 2016, like maybe late 2015 or something. I think that's when I did it. Yeah.
For medical emergencies, and now we can't fund it because the government, U.S. government is coming. Then he goes on to write, legitimate concerns about protecting airline passengers from those with Ebola or other infectious diseases can best be addressed by returning responsibility for passenger safety to the airlines. After all, private airlines have a greater incentive than does government to protect their passengers from contagious
The
diseases.
people who don't even stock up on minute bags of pretzels for food on flights. They're gonna be like, no, actually, Ebola, we take that really seriously. Oh, you want an Ebola screening? That's going to be a $150 surcharge before you get on the flight, sir.
They can do so while providing a safe means of travel for those seeking medical treatment in the United States. So apparently they'd have special Ebola-only flights.
You know what's a great untapped market? Africans with Ebola fleeing to get medical treatment in the United States. Those people are flushed. Why don't we get a direct service for them? There's a huge market opportunity in that.
What we could also do is pair up some of our flight attendants who have Ebola. This would remove the incentive to lie about exposure to the virus among those seeking to come here for treatment. So let me see if I can get this straight. So they set up their special flights for Ebola victims. And presumably they're going to pay a massive premium because they get so much expendable wealth, right?
Well, the irony of Liberia is that despite civil war and a collapsed economy, a lot of sort of average Liberians, they just have a massive disposable income. Because I don't know why.
Right, because... And then, and Ron Paul doesn't answer again. What is the U.S. government doing right now that prevents these airlines from providing passenger safety?
Doing something, Sam. Again, free markets, freedom, liberty. Hello.
I mean, honestly, like,
you just get
is there
serious?
some argument? I mean, maybe it's the case, but
The
I
other
find
thing to
it
add is that
very
the Jews
hard to
are
believe.
involved too, and their problem as well. I'm not ready for president anymore. I'm just tired of those Jews.
I find it hard to believe that there's U.S. regulations that prevent the airlines from saying, like, here's a thermometer.
Well,
Or
I mean,
here's a-
that's all documented. Thermometers are under control of the government. And you see, some people just don't know that. Probably the black people don't know that because they're less educated. The Jews do know that, but they're sneaky and wily.
All right,
Like
wait a second.
Sam
Let me read
Cedar is a terrible human being. And
But
if
why,
Jews
but
even are
why
human
should
beings.
those... and then they're talking about how the FDA has now given permission for the use of unapproved drugs to Ebola patients. But he writes, but why should those suffering from potentially lethal diseases have to seek special permission from federal bureaucrats to use treatments their physicians think might help? And does anyone doubt... Well, I can give one answer, okay? For the same reason that we know, I was just down at that tort lawyer conference. We know that when the FDA does not have the regulatory or the statutory ability to regulate certain drugs or have the resources
His laugh is pretty
to
funny.
actually do trials that are not provided by drug manufacturers, you get a lot of people who die. And you get a lot of charlatans. I mean, the idea that we see on a daily basis drugs marketed for things that, for problems that, despite the fact that they don't work.
My friend Alex Jones has a great anti-Ebola formula. People could just get super anti-Ebola vitality. I mean, you just be saving lives just literally left and right. I mean, I don't know if it would work on Jewish people's systems in the same way because they have a different DNA, but it's worth a try.
And does anyone doubt, he writes, does anyone doubt that the FDA's cumbersome approval process has slowed down the development of treatments for Ebola? I would say yes. Many people doubt that. In fact, I haven't heard from one manufacturer who said, well, the reason why we don't have an Ebola treatment right now is because of the FDA, as opposed to the fact that, like, we just didn't see any money in it.
Same reason we don't have those special Liberia flights. Government.
Government.
Yeah, government. That's what's blocking it, see?
And then, to make his case that private intervention would be far more successful than, I guess, our response to what's happening in West Africa, he says Firestone Tire and Rubber Company has successfully contained the spread of Ebola among 80,000 people living in Harbel, the Liberian town housing employees of Firestone's Liberian plant and their families. In March, after the wife of a Firestone employee developed Ebola symptoms, Firestone constructed its own treatment center and implemented a program of quarantine and treatment. Firestone has successfully kept the Ebola virus from spreading among its employees. As of this writing, there are only 3 Ebola patients at Firestone's treatment facility. Okay, so assuming that we don't have all of these massive corporations that can set this up for their employees, assuming that many of the people who get Ebola don't work for a massive corporation, maybe their I don't know, their general store doesn't have the resources to build something like this. What is Ron
Government.
Paul's answer? And
Oh,
seeing
this
as how Firestone doesn't seem
This is from Ron Paul. Oh shit! I just realized it. I thought it was just like a libertarian caller. Holy shit!
to be in any way inhibited from
He's
doing
an
what they're
elected
doing because
official.
the U.S. sent 3,000 troops to help the rest of those people. What's the problem here?
My answer would be Liberty. And the second thing is you probably own Firestone stock, don't you? You Jew with your big portfolio and everything else. I'm just tired of people just trying to take away freedom. I mean, if the soldiers weren't there from the U.S. government, then that general store could probably build a modern health facility that would treat all of Liberia. But this interference from government blocks liberty.
Well,
and freedom
let's
from
read his
liberty.
final paragraph, because that's more or less what he seems to argue. Firestone's success in containing Ebola shows that far from justifying new state action, the Ebola crisis demonstrates that individuals acting in the free market can do a better job of containing Ebola than can governments. This is just absurd. The Ebola crisis is another example of how U.S. foreign aid now harms the very people we are claiming to help.
Why don't we get in the Ebola business? It could help us with the move. Apparently, there's a lot of untapped market opportunities there.
I'm coming up with an Uber for Ebola patients who want to take a car ride. You see, had that existed and you didn't have these publicly sanctioned licensed taxi cabs, then maybe this guy Duncan wouldn't have contracted it.
I know a company want to build a hovercraft, just like you've seen in, in Spaceballs or Back to the Future, whatever have you. And they fly all over. They can drop medicine. You do it at a premium, and it's just, it's the market, it's freedom. But as long as we have these government bureaucrats and debt, and a currency that's not real.
You guys are like
hoverboards.
mocking libertarians, but this
I
is
got
what
a
they
college
actually are
master's
saying.
degree,
Like this is the funny part.
Let's go to
Don't like the Jews
the
very much
phone.
either.
Jesus Christ, man, these libertarians. I'd like to actually meet a
Yeah.
libertarian in real life.
One place, of course, where its citizens will not feel entitled to health care will be in a new city that is being purchased, I believe, from the country of Honduras.
The fuck?
Yes. A private city in Honduras. Story comes from Fox News from last week, of course. Honduras has agreed to let an investment group build an experimental city with no taxes on income, capital gains, or sales. The unnamed town will become a Central American beacon of job creation and investment by combining secure property rights with minimal government interference, says investors. You know what I love about this story is it shows the absolute delusion of libertarian right-winger types. Once we provide a sound legal system within which to do business, the whole job creation machine, the miracle of capitalism, will get going, said Michael Strong, CEO of MKG Group, which will build the city and set its laws. Now, of course, I presume that the MKG Group will have a sole monopoly on the power.
Was it a
of,
failure? Obviously, it was a
on,
failure,
use of
but
force
I
to
didn't
get
know
people
what
to
happened.
subscribe to their laws.
I was about to ask, what happened to
But
this?
people will have the ability to
It's from
buy in and
2012.
decide whether or not they're going to accept those laws. So there's going to be informed consent. Our goal is to be the most economically free entity on earth, Strong said. There will only be a tax on property. Honduran leaders hope the city will lead to an economic boom for the poverty-stricken country south of Mexico. The average income in Honduras is $4,400 a year. So you understand what's going to happen here, right? Let me see how I could draw a picture of this. Imagine a castle with big walls. The people inside the castle will be a part of this magical city that will run on laws developed by the investor. And everybody who enters into the castle walls will be protected. And their little property, their little rooms in their castle will be taxed. And there'll be no taxes beyond that. And they'll all subscribe to the walls and to the rules. And then outside of that castle, outside the moat, maybe that's around there, there'll be the peasants, the poor people who will live outside of it. And that's where all the labor will come from. So that the rich people living inside the castle, well, they'll just do their work that really doesn't have anything to do with supporting the self-sufficiency of this supposed self-sufficient thing. And they'll, once a day, roll down the drawbridge, and the peasants will walk in. And they'll work for a gold doubloon or whatever it will be, and they'll walk out into their fields and their outhouses, if they're lucky. And that's how the magic of capitalism will support this city. The laws in the city will be separate from those in the rest of Honduras. Strong said the default law will be enforced in the city that will actually be based on Texas state law.
It lasted a couple years and ended miserably. Oh my god, I need to read this. Hold on. Honduras libertarian city. My libertarian vacation nightmare. Oh my god. We need to read this. Hold on. This is from 2012 apparently. And this is from 2015, so I don't think it lasted too long. Thoughts on Sora for Smash? I'm good. I never play Kingdom Hearts, but I'm good with anime swordsmen. Put Gino in. Put Gino in Smash. That's all I want. Put Gino, Sub-Zero, Crash Bandicoot. Yeah. I think I'm good. There's no character in Smash that I'm like dying for. So I like Skull Kid. I wish Skull Kid was in, but he's a trophy. It's a full moon? Well, it's your birthday. Let me see. Let me look at this. Oh my god. My libertarian vacation nightmare. How Ayn Rand, Ron Paul, and their groupies were all debunked. My family and I traveled last month to Honduras City, known for its libertarian ideals. He was what happened next. Oh my god. Spent my final vacation in Honduras in San Pedro Sula, considered the most dangerous city outside the war-torn Middle East. I would not have been scared, except I traveled with my wife and our 4 children. On our last taxi ride, we could not find a van to fit us all, so we rode in 2 taxis. Mine carried me and my 2 daughters, aged 5 and 14, while the driver blasted Willie Nelson singing City of New Orleans. The city is also considered very dangerous. Gino's from Mario RPG, Super Mario RPG. It's like an old school NES. It's pretty much the last RPG that Square and Nintendo worked on. Or I think Nintendo gave Square the rights to do a Mario RPG. And he's like a character from there. I've never played it, but people want him. And just for the sole fact that people wanted him for like almost a decade makes me want him in, because like make dreams come true already. We got Ridley, we got K-Rool, we got like all these Banjo, we got like all these crazy characters. Just put fucking Gino. Everyone wants Gino. Let me see, where were we? It was a surreal moment traveling in one of the most dangerous cities in the world with my babies in tow. Why the fuck would this guy bring them there? I gave a nod to the radio. Willie, I said, and he gave me a grin and a vigorous C. There's a lot of American cowboy culture in Honduras, but along with silly hats, Honduras has also taken one of our worst ideas, libertarian politics. Oh my god. By the time I made it to San Pedro Sula, I've seen much of the countryside and culture. It's a wonderful place filled with music, great coffee, fabulous cigars, and generous people, but it's also a libertarian experiment coming apart. People better than I analyze the specific political moves that have created this modern-day libertarian dystopia. Mike LaSouza recently wrote a detailed analysis of such, laying out how the bad ideas of libertarian politics have been pursued as government policy. I need to read that too. In America, libertarian ideas are attractive to mostly young white men with high ideals and no life experience that live off of previous generations' investments and sacrifice. I know this because as a young white idiot, I subscribe to the system of discredited ideas. Selfishness is good. Government is bad. Oh my god. Take what you want, when you want it, and however you can. This sounds like a great idea. Poor people deserve what they get, and the smartest, hardworking people always win. So get yours before everyone else does. I read the books by Charles Murray and have an autographed copy of Ron Paul's The Revolution. The threat that links all the disparate books and ideas is that they fail in practice. Eliminate all taxes, privatize everything, load a country up with guns, and oppose all public expenditures. You end up with Honduras. In Honduras, the police ride around in pickup trucks with machine guns, but they aren't there to protect most people. They are scary to locals and travelers alike. For individual protection, there's an army of private armed security guards who are found in front of not only banks but also restaurants, ATMs, grocery stores, and any building that holds anything of value whatsoever. Some guards have uniforms and long guns, but just as many are dressed in street clothes with cheap pistols thrust into waistbands. The country has a handful of really rich people, a small group of middle class, some security guards who seem to be getting by, and a massive group of people who are starving to death and living in the slums. I wonder if this is going to end well. You can see the evidence of previous decades of infrastructure, investment, and roads and bridges, but it's all in slow motion decay. I took a van trip across country starting in Copan. There's must-see Mayan ruins across. I took my family trip in Cuba, 6 hours. The trip from Copan to the coast took a full 6 hours, and we had 2 flat tires. The word treacherous is inadequate. A better description is post-apocalyptic. We did not see one speed limit sign in hundreds of kilometers. Not one. Oh my God. People drive around each other on the right. Oh my God. People drive around each other on the left, right, in every manner. The road was clogged with horses, scooters, and bikes. People traveled in every conceivable manner along the crumbling arterial. Few cars have license plates, and one taxi driver told me that the private company responsible for making them went bankrupt. Instead of traffic stops, there are military checkpoints every so often. The road seems so dangerous to me. Seemed more dangerous to me than the gang violence. The greatest example of libertarians are in action are the hundreds of men, women, and children standing along the roads. The government won't fix the roads, so these desperate entrepreneurs fill in potholes with shovels of dirt or debris. They then stand next to the filled-in potholes, soliciting tips from grateful motorists. That is the wet dream of libertarian private sector innovation. On the mainland, there's Duke Island neighborhoods, slums that seem to go on forever. Where the cathedral and most houses surrounded by high stone walls topped with either wire or electric fence. As I scroll past these, all I could think about how great this city would be during a zombie apocalypse. Oh my God! Did I lose power? No, I didn't lose power, but just in case, you know. Let's see, how much longer is this fucking? How much longer is this? Oh, it's not that long. Previous occasion I went to Facebook. We can have a smaller joke. It showed me a few places of the city. A hospital bar. Blah 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 blah. You pointed out places. For our last meal, a couple of the middle of the day, we walked around, game and passed a man in casual slacks and a pistol belt slung half-heartedly around his waist. Welcome to Ayn Rand's libertarian paradise, where your extra large pepperoni pizza must also have an armed guard. Oh my God. Part of the reason this great libertarian bullshit still carries any weight for Americans is because so few of us travel. Only 30% of Americans have passports, and if Americans don't go places not often, they're Honduras. On the mainland, you saw no handful of Americans. I did see many more on the tours. But the site is not self-fly directly. What kind of society maximizes freedom while providing the best outcomes for the greatest number of human beings? This question we have a growing society should not exist to make a few people fabulously wealthy while others starve. Almost all humanity used to live this way. We call it feudalism. Many people want to go back to that sort of system this time under the label libertarian or the untrammeled free market. The name is irrelevant because the results are the same. In Honduras, I did not meet one person who had nice things to say about the government or how the country is run. My takeaway from the trip is that living in a libertarian paradise satisfies only the few of the wealthiest citizens while everyone else thinks it sucks. Honduras has problems, but people should go visit anyway and soon. The dangers are fleeting, and there are coffee plantations to tour, ruins to see, cigars to smoke, and fish to catch. The people need your tourism dollars. As a bonus, it's important for Americans to see the outcome when the bad ideas of teenage boys and a bad Russian writer are put into practice. Everyone believes in freedom. Where was it? Hold on. Oh, everyone believes in freedom, but it's an idea both fetishized and unrecognizable when spotted by libertarians. There can be no such thing as freedom, safety, or progress of any kind when an entire society is run for the benefit of a handful of rich households and global conglomerates. If you think I'm overstating, just go to Honduras and see it for yourself. Holy crap. That is fucking hilarious. Look at this guy. Is he still on Twitter? Former contributor. Oh boy. Yeah, well, if that doesn't convince you that these people are crazy, nothing will. Absolutely nothing will.
Which has relatively few regulations. The rules for immigrating to the city have yet to be finalized, but are expected to be loose. My guess is, if you can afford to pay, you can get in. It'll be designed to be very welcoming to those with the minimum threshold of skills or capital. So I imagine the threshold of skills will be, can you work a computer? Can you day trade? Can you walk yourself and order something from a cabana boy? And do you have over $1.3 million or some odd figure that will make you an appropriate citizen? In other words, this is a perfect libertarian paradise because it's only for for rich people. It's a free market paradise where rich people will benefit off of the labor from really, really poor
I did. We'll do a Dave Rubin one next.
To ensure the city against political change, the Honduran legislature has agreed to a two-thirds majority will be required to interfere with the city. So you have a sovereign nation giving up autonomy over part of their sovereign nation to essentially a gated community. This probably won't end well. First, we will build the critical infrastructure, roads, water, power, sewers, Strong said, which I imagine everything will show up right to the door, right? I mean, in other words, they're not really building the infrastructure. They're taking the last leg of it. In the same way if you were building like a cul-de-sac development and you're going to put 6 houses there. You don't have to build the infrastructure that brings the water and the electricity right to the end of that driveway. You just have to bring it from the street.
My brain can't
In
handle all these
collaboration with
hell
the
of
Honduran
ideas.
government, we will then create the city's government system and security. And 3 to 6 months after that, we will build the first factories. So there'll be a couple of factories. I wonder the percentage of people who are working the factory line, if they'll come from the city. My guess is no. Tefilo Colin Jr., who runs the Garifuna Cultural Group in, because of course there are locals who are concerned this is going to destroy
Elevator
the
Hell, what's up,
world.
man?
Can't help but suspect the promise of plenty of jobs is nothing but a Trojan horse. The prospect of setting up a charter city with its own laws, is sovereign to itself, and doesn't have to pay taxes, is a dubious one at best. It'd be tantamount to inviting pirates to come in and have free reign to essentially raid the country's resources and riches. Indeed.
Oh my
Well,
God.
it's the libertarian paradise. I hope they enjoy it. It's the old feudal system come back. Unbelievable.
Hi, this is Corey Bauer with Aviator Gear, and I'd like to talk to you today about our custom airplane models. Our custom models are hand carved.
All right, we'll play a Dave Rubin one. Let me see. All right, here's a good one. Libertarianism may never recover from Dave Rubin's epic stupidity. Should be a good one, right?
Speaking of guys from the Boston area, I believe Joe Rogan is from that area. That is where I first met him, and last saw him probably.
We played softball.
He didn't meet you though.
Oh well, we'll see. We'll see.
See No is not in production yet. It's an idea. After this is done, and we're almost done here with this one, but after this is done, I'm going to do a poll if people want to see See No, Kyle and Corin animated, or if they want to see a Kyle or Secular Talk animated 7, where Kyle and Corin moderate a democratic debate. So I'm going to put a poll, because I generally can't decide between the two, because I think both are great ideas. So we'll see about that. I'll let the people decide, and then I'll put my what is it called? The people vote, and then delegate. I'll be the delegate, the deciding factor.
But
If they Riven Forks Virgo, I'm back now. Which
this
that's
is
funny.
really. I mean, there's. This is really something. So Dave Rubin
This is a feast.
got off tour, and I don't know, which one should we start? Let's start with the building codes. I got to tell you, a lot of times we will play a clip of someone, and the reason why I play the clip is because I want to point out some of the.
See No is Kyle and Corin on their podcast. Corin had an idea for a game show called See No, and that's it. Literally, that's it. The game show. Yes or no. It was really fun. I can't do it justice, but it was a Kyle and Corin part of the podcast. So it was like a really funny exchange, and I think it would make a funny Kyle and Corin animated. So.
Falsehoods, maybe, or the misapprehensions,
Chowda.
or the ignorance.
You're cleaning up the public record.
Cleaning up the public record. In this instance, I have to say, Joe Rogan already did it in many respects.
Is everyone drunk?
And in some ways, this
Not
is
that
just
drunk.
simply
Okay.
hilarious to me.
Extremely funny.
What's that?
Dude, I saw that. The media took a quote from Bernie and literally put Warren's name on it. What the fuck, man? Like that, there's no end to that barrel, dude. They will go to any length to discredit him. But it's so in your face. Like, people know, and if they don't address it, like, damn, son, that's fucked.
No, not yet. Let's play this clip, and I may stop it. Now, I also want to just say that there was a clip from the same interview about the post office that still is bouncing around in my head. And Michael played it yesterday. I should have embargoed that, because I have never seen the depths of ignorance that were contained in such a small.
I'm semi-sober,
amount of
Uncle Big,
content.
so
Almost not every
with
word,
you.
because of course words themselves cannot be ignorant. They need to be paired with other words so that they turn into even just brief phrases which would reveal the ignorance. The level of ignorance in his talking about the post office, you could almost take any 3 words. If you were to take the transcript and choose any 3 words in that transcript, there would be something so ignorant embedded in those 3 words that it would be impressive. But his ability to put them together into clauses and into statements and into sentences, it's almost like if it was an art project. But we do have him continuing on talking about building codes. And,
directly after the
and I imagine, Rogan may have spent a little bit of time, with folks who build stuff, and anybody who knows anything about building knows why you have building codes. Maybe anybody who's bought a house too would probably know. Anybody who watched Homes on Homes?
rented an apartment.
Yes.
Rented an apartment, been in a building,
Yeah.
walked inside of, or as referenced in this.
Now,
clip,
here's the thing about
been
this
to a country where there are not tough building code regulations.
Right.
Is another
or
way.
read about countries where there's
Or
not
read, or
like the
seen
first
something
thing
on
you
TV.
read. Well, all right, let's play the clip.
That's the way you get them. You
Yeah.
get them through the U.S. Postal Service.
But
you don't
I'm
get them through UPS.
I'm pretty sure, though, that if the USPS stopped, it didn't exist anymore, you'd still get chickens delivered. And Amazon could probably do it even more effectively. That's my point. It's like, I'm not saying these things have to be eliminated tomorrow. I'm not even really calling for them.
Pause it. Okay. So, Dave Rubin, we're catching the tail end of the post office thing where Dave Rubin doesn't realize that Amazon relies on the U.S. Postal Service for a huge percentage of its deliveries. But he's just saying that Amazon would pick up the cost of that. I guess theoretically. Understand that Amazon's retail business does not make its money. I don't know if they're net cash negative still, but most of their money comes from their server, their electronic server thing. The delivery mechanism. There's so much stupidity just even involved in the tail end. This is not even part of the clip. And there's so,
Awesome
it's so
is
dumb.
the tail end that you're catching there is him just basically using an example to bash the post office, then Rogan be like, "Oh no, wait, you're actually talking about the post office," and him being like, "Oh yeah, but I still think it would be better if not."
Right.
Like that.
No,
that
there's
was
so much, but there's just
literally
so
his
much
recovery.
ignorance, so much ignorance in it. It's just stunning. And yes, he's saying like, well, I'm not even talking about what I'm talking about, is what he's saying here.
He
But
ends this one
this isn't even the clip that we wanted to talk about. This is just the tail end of the last clip. But go ahead.
I'm really calling for them to be eliminated, but just generally, what problem would you, everything you're building here right now, right? Do you want the government to tell you how to do all these things and all the regulations that you got to have your electric thing this far from this and like all
Well,
of
the regulations like that for construction are important, though. You do have to make sure that people don't do stupid shit.
But-
make
but
sure you don't
generally-
have a power line that's near a water line. There's a lot of.
But I would put most of that on the builders, though. They want to build things that are good. Now I get it.
Oh, that's not true. Listen, people.
No, people are going to build
corners all the time. Like you have to have regulations when it comes to construction methods.
Pause
or
it.
people-
Pause it. Let me tell you. Like,
Oh, that's not true.
Most people know this. But if you didn't, you could watch, like I say, like Homes on Homes. Like, there are multiple TV series on Home Improvement Network that are just about builders not knowing code, not building to code, building stuff that there's like mold in the walls, the electrical system keeps shorting out because it's too close to the water, they haven't done the drainage system correctly, they haven't done the air duct system correctly. I mean, this goes on and on and on. I mean, I mean, you don't have to have listened to this show to talk about the massive lawsuits in terms of builders cutting corners. In fact, the whole bedrock of regulations is because in the pursuit of money, people will cut corners. And they will do so even if it means harm to other individuals.
Even with Yelp reviews?
Even with Yelp reviews. And apparently Dave Rubin's not aware of this at all. But the best is to
We
look at the
might die,
expression on
Donald.
his
We might
face,
die if we
because
do that.
If I was to critique, and we still have a little
That's
bit more of left of this in this
A
clip.
lot more of this.
But if I was to critique this clip at all, I would say to Joe Rogan, release just the camera 2 shot. I want to see Dave Rubin's reaction throughout all of this.
When Rogan's speaking.
When Rogan's speaking. Because the look on Dave Rubin's face every time they cut to Rogan, because Rogan just completely shut him down, is like a lost puppy. A lost puppy that realizes he's drowning and is trying to salvage
lot more
himself.
sympathetic.
But continue.
That's not true. Listen, people
No,
cut,
people are
cut
gonna build-
corners all the time. Like, you have to have regulations when it comes to construction methods, or people are going to get fucked.
They cut corners when there are regulations anyway.
They do. They would cut a lot more if there weren't regulations.
I'm not
You go
totally-
to third world countries and look at construction methods.
Pause
they're
it for one
fucking
second. So Rubin uses the defense, well, you can have laws, but people are going to break them. So under that theory, right, there would be no laws because every law has been broken at least once. So why have any laws?
Why not just have the purge 24/7?
Right, exactly. It's just a constant rotating.
You'd be
sort of-
incentivized not to purge because you'd want people to hire you to build.
HGTV needs a purge.
All right, go back a little bit and then play.
a lot more if there weren't regulations.
I'm not
You go
totally-
to third world countries and look at construction methods. They're fucking dangerous.
Yeah.
That's why schools collapse on kids in foreign countries sometimes. Like,
Well, I'm not telling you that I'm against all regulation. Period. That's
Okay.
that's where I said intellectually I like that argument because you can make. I think you can make a very sound argument that competition would force people to do better work.
Pause it. In fact, we have now moved to Dave Rubin saying that maybe someone else could make a sound argument that competition would force people to
Spin the bottle.
self-regulate.
I haven't played that since like 8th
apparently
grade.
don't have the ability to do that, but I'm aware that there are people who do that. But I have shown that even though I am paid on my show by people who professionally profess this, right? He gets money from the Koch brothers. The Koch brothers' raison d'etre as a political force is to unshackle their businesses from regulations that prevent them from maximizing their profits at the expense of society. To put their externalities out on other people. In other words, consumers are going to pay, citizens are going to pay for our profit by either, paying for the health care they need for their asthma or, paying for the cleanup that they need to make sure that their rivers aren't poisoned or whatever it is. I'm going to externalize these costs in my profit making. Dave Rubin is paid by these people. And Dave Rubin can't even make the most basic argument to it. In fact, he can barely escape by saying, I'm aware that there are arguments about this. I can't articulate them. I mean, here's the thing about Dave Rubin that is most appalling to me. I don't think Dave Rubin has read upon any of the topics he's talked about for more than 5 minutes, maybe ever. Like, if you know you're going on a show, and maybe he thought
I think I look
that
beat up
Rogan
enough,
wouldn't
right?
in any way question him whatsoever. But if you're going to go and make an argument that, private enterprise could do better than the government, you don't choose the post office, which is arguably one of the premier examples of the development of civilization that we have. Like, the Postal Service is, what it does is so amazing that it provides postal service to almost every single corner, if not every single corner of this country. Is amazing, and it does it with zero tax dollars.
And it's such an enlightenment / free exchange of ideas idea of an origin anyway.
It is like, it's the pinnacle. It's like the foundation of everything that he pretends to argue for. Like, it is, I could see you saying like, you like the DMV? Just because that's the most hack thing.
That's the hack one.
Well,
right?
but the problem is, of course, there is no federal DMV. Right? There's only the states, which he would like to have.
Sure, he doesn't know that.
No,
though.
he doesn't know that.
I'm surprised he
But
didn't use DMV.
the post office, as a federal agency, the only thing that has inhibited the operation of the post office, ladies and gentlemen, is the Republican Party and their attempts to force the post office to privatize is the only thing that has inhibited the operations of
But
the
you
post
could make
office.
a very sound case that with like Amazon and drones and blah blah blah, that like things will prices will lower.
Yeah,
and
you could.
such.
You could, but I can't. One could, but I can't. I'm
a
not
lot
going
of
to.
other people make
There's
those
an obvious-
arguments, which I just completely humiliated myself
It's
in
just like,
attempting to make.
do 5 minutes of reading. Like if you're going, like, Google some of the words that you intend to use and just read what you find at the end of them.
I'm more interested in ideas.
At
kind of
least
big
go
picture.
to Liberty University, who gives you your funding or whatever it is, the Liberty Foundation.
All right, I
Freedom
think I beat up
Foundation,
enough.
And
I think
watch
I might
one of
have
their
overdone it, but
videos, so at least you can regurgitate their points and practice it. Practice it with somebody so that you can not make a total ass of yourself. For gosh sakes, you make a living at this. You make a damn living espousing this bullshit. Don't you feel some obligation to read 5 minutes into an argument so you can avoid the most you want to talk about building codes?
And by the way,
You picked both those topics.
and let me
too.
just say,
this is like the low
and
hanging
if
fruit.
these videos upset you, think of them as Yelp reviews to incentivize you to do
Yes,
better as a small
yes.
businessman.
Yes, in fact, I mean, I feel like the government should step in and regulate what you're doing because obviously, clearly, you're not doing your job
There
well.
needs to be a federal bureaucrat who says, look, you can advocate all of the demented nonsense you want. We have a First Amendment. But if you're going to do it in such a recklessly incompetent way.
I mean, you need an example of why a builder might cut corners and deliver a subpar product. Watch your videos of yourself. You want an example of how someone could continue to make money hand over fist and not know what they're doing? Look at your YouTube channel. Look at your bank account.
Look within.
Exactly. The truth lies within
Refresh
you.
your Patreon page. The truth lies within your Patreon analytics.
Exactly. My gosh.
Dave Rubin attacks Sam Cedar, calls him dishonest player. Oh my God.
Another 619. Calling from a 619 area code. Who's this? Where are you calling from?
Hello, Sam. This is Ed from San Diego.
Ed from San Diego. What's going on in San Diego today? I think it's like the second or third call we've gotten from San Diego.
Hey, I'm off today, so I'm just sitting around.
All right.
But have you heard the latest defense that Dave Rubin is using to dodge debates?
In fact, I have, and I appreciate the call. Let's look at the tape right now. This is a video that was sent to us by listener Evan, and I believe it was listener Evan was in fact there at a Turning Point USA at Santa Clara University. I think this is over the weekend. Dave Rubin, classical liberal that he is, was there with Turning Points USA. Most recently in the news for having another white supremacist problem.
Unclear if that was before or after this. I'm not sure.
I mean, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
I mean, once or twice these type of scandals hit an organization, you could say like, oh, there's,
The correlation is not causation.
Right. But at one point you start to say like, I'm starting to see a pattern here. But here is this event where listener Evan came up and asked a question of Dave Rubin.
Hey Dave, so I've been watching your program since about early time in high school. Now I'm in college, so it's been a while, but one thing that I really liked, something that you talked about here was the difference between diversity of thought and diversity of identity. Sure. Now the thing with a diversity of thought is I feel like that's a problem you actually perpetuate on your show, because the only time you really have left-wing guests are when they're members of the intellectual dark web, such as Harris or Weinstein, and they're only there for the bulk of the time to talk about the regressive left. And so I pretty much wanted to ask you, why won't you have Sam Cedar on?
Yeah, he's recording it too. Okay. Yeah, I mean, the guy's he's just a dishonest player who's just lied about me repeatedly. Like, I'm not going to do it.
So would you be willing?
Excuse me? Dishonest player? I would like Dave Rubin to say in where I've been dishonest. I claim that he was funded by the Koch brothers, not directly. I was very clear about this. Through an organization came out of George Mason University that sponsored his a series of his interviews, and he subsequently conceded that was the case. And now, the idea that he would smear me in this way for simply reporting on something that was true
Ugly.
is
a serious
ugly.
allegation.
And the idea that I have in any way slandered him is in and of itself a slander.
Sorry, the stream is like bugging
Now,
out,
yes,
guys.
it is true that at one point, Michael
Suffocating,
called
what's up,
him
man?
stupid, and I reprimanded Michael for that, and I apologized publicly to Dave Rubin for it. Yet, he still refused to even discuss any policies with me. And frankly, that smells like a dodge. So if not me, who is slanderous and a smear merchant and dishonest, what about other people would you have on who have differing opinions for you, and all you do
Hold on, guys. All right, Suffocating. Thanks for hanging out, buddy. Appreciate that. Let me see. Okay. Okay. It should be okay now. For now. All right, we should be okay for now. Let's continue. Hopefully, things are okay. Let me see if I can close a program or something. Take it easy, Suffocating. Good luck in your class. Okay. We should be good. Let's try it.
as you set up, as you stand in front of a big government sucks poster, is malign the so-called left. But yet you won't have any of those people with the leftist ideas on your show. It's odd. Well, maybe if you were offered other people.
He's just lied about me repeatedly, like, I'm not going to do it.
So would you be willing to have Natalie Wynn of ContraPoints or David Pacman or Kyle Kalinske? All of these are progressives who have...
I'm not, in principle, I'm not against having any of them, but I'm not going to have people that attack me personally. I think it's pretty obvious if you watch what I did up here. Like, I don't attack people personally. I'm happy to talk about ideas. You're going to go after me personally, you're going to lie about me and slander me and things like that. Like, it's just not the game I'm playing. There's no win in it for me. You know, I have a certain set of rules when it comes to talking to people and how I sort of behave.
I think the fact that he determines who his guests will be on the scale of there being a win in it for me, I think is the one of the more revealing things and the more honest things that Dave Rubin has said. He attempts, and look, Dave Rubin is perfectly, he is beyond well within his rights to not have anybody he doesn't want on his show. The thing I take issue with is the idea that he presents himself as taking on all comers, that his whole shtick is to allow for ideas that otherwise wouldn't be available to people to be aired, and that we can take on all ideas. Yet he is excluding the very ideas that the show is almost built around maligning, because he's going to go on now to say, like, if you look at my roster of people, they're all liberal or this or that who have left the people I will not have on my show. And so he claims to have this wide array. And so all I take issue with is that claim. I mean, and if you look at the evolution of Dave Rubin, and I like to think that at least part of our pointing out that the idea that he was of the left, and he used to list a bunch of policies, in addition to the fact that he was gay and married, which he probably had to stop at one point because he realized, like, wait a second, I'm using my identity as a means in which to show my bona fides, which is, of course, contrary to the idea that he promotes. But it was only 2 years ago when Dave Rubin was saying that he was for Medicare for all. He was for a single-payer system, and it had to be pointed out to him that when you talk about being for a single-payer healthcare system and smaller government, that you could not articulate two ideas that were more inconsistent with each other. There would be no other version of big government in the way that they're talking about it, because he has no problem with the military, than to say we're going to have the government provide health insurance for everybody. Because the biggest thing that the government does now is social insurance, Social Security, and healthcare. That does not involve the military. And to expand that would be even more of that. But let's hear his justification for this.
Talking to people and how I sort of behave as a public person. And if you don't have rules, like, I'm just not that interested. But also, I think your premise is actually wrong. If you were to look, and someone did break this down on Facebook, I don't know how many shows I've done, maybe 500 interviews, something like that. Most of my guests actually either were lefties or are lefties to some extent. So it's like you can say, well, Harris and Brent Weinstein, who considers himself deeply progressive, who was a professor at Evergreen State, the most lefty college in the United States. You could say, well, he's not a progressive anymore. Well, if he's not a progressive anymore, it's not because he moved, actually. It's because the left went bananas. So Eric Weinstein, who voted for Bernie Sanders, you can't tell me he's not a progressive. My guest 2 weeks ago, Nick Christakis, he considers himself a liberal. He's an old school liberal. So I think I don't know if there's a show that has a sort of wider net. I've actually never seen it, but as long as someone's respectful, I'm more than happy to talk to them.
I'm sure that Sam Cedar will be more than willing to have a respectful discussion, but my point was not to discredit the progressiveness of either of them. I just wanted to say that I think you should have more people on the left that you would consider to be a part of the progressive left on your show. That's all.
Okay.
Ooh, that's going to stink to have that type of applause at your own Turning Points USA event. That's sort of surprising.
Jesus.
And it is true. Be completely respectful. And if I wasn't, then I would be the one who validates your entire claim. So this is an opportunity for you, Dave, to further your claim. I mean, you've asked for these people: Rob Reiner, Michael Flint, Chelsea Handler, Sarah Silverman, AOC, Bernie Sanders, Senator Warren, Mark Ruffalo, Stephen King, Judd Apatow, Maddow, Amy Schumer, Lena Dunham, Cory Booker, Seth MacFarlane. You would love to chat with some progressives who can keep it civil.
But you notice how he mentions AOC in this? Look at this other tweet that And Bernie, knowing he's going to be left in the socialist dust, has to sit there and pretend like she knows what she's talking about. That's not being very civil about AOC.
That's pretty stunning.
Ad
That's
hominem.
kind of exactly what he's mad about us for doing
Now,
to him.
to be fair,
Nintendo.
those two
up, Leon?
tweets came almost 10 days apart.
Oh, I'm gonna
So
dunk you,
it
bro.
looks like
Oh, I'm gonna dunk
the
you.
kettle is calling someone iron and black.
I also like how half of the people he tags are celebrities who are not primarily known for political commentary.
What we mean half? No, they're all people who espouse liberal perspectives on, but they're all almost 3/4 of them are actors.
All right, hold on one sec, guys. I'm just gonna pause it real quick. Just play some audio. So that the downbeat's on the down that but aside that the downbeat's like list you can stir side and then or you. All right, I think I have the idea now. Okay. 12 hours of school. Damn, son. Damn.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's pretty nuts.
You could use a nice Dunkin' then.
That's like, I would like to debate James Woods. I mean, I would. I'd be happy to, but I don't really think that, like,
he's not Edmund in the lineage of Edmund Burke. For
yeah,
instance.
exactly. I mean, the fact is that there is virtually no one who is interested in having an exchange with me that I wouldn't have an exchange with. Maybe I have it on this show. Maybe I'd go on their show. I'm happy to do that. And I feel like I have a responsibility to do that. You know, sometimes the scheduling issues, but I'm open to it. Adam Kokesh, at one point jumped on, said yes.
Well.
What's his face? Who's that guy whose show I was on? The crazy guy?
Oh,
Brandon
No.
Straka.
Jesse Lee
Oh,
Peterson.
right, yeah.
Right. I went on his show. Brandon Straka wanted to, and I'm happy to go because that is, that's part of, I think, our responsibility.
If you want it, you can get it.
That's
Well,
right.
Whichever Hollywood actor gets to debate Dave Rubin, maybe you can help them prep.
Yeah. Well, I don't think they're going to. But
I
we'll see.
think we should. Some of them should tweet out to tell Dave to debate you.
Yeah, listen, and I am not going to tell people to go to Dave Rubin events and ask this question. I haven't told anybody to do that. It's happening organically because I think people genuinely have this question of Dave Rubin. And so, I just want to make that clear too.
Oh, and one of the people that he claimed as being on the left, Eric Weinstein, I just looked him up. He's the managing director of Teal Capital.
His brother,
yeah.
I think.
Oh, different guy? All right.
Well,
Sure.
no,
Or no,
they're
Brett-
they're
yeah, yeah,
brothers.
right.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're
he
right.
mentions both of them.
Right.
But the bottom line is he sits there and nods, regardless of who's sitting there, and he does not know what to do when he needs to actually question and interview someone with thoughts that are actually challenging to his.
Sign of student teaching an hour commuting a 3-hour class. Damn, dude, you had a long fucking day. You had a long fucking day. Are you guys Lilah, you want another Dave Rubin or you want more libertarian? We have both. Let me know. I'm gonna play some music for a little bit. Let me know what you want, Lilah. It's your birthday. Need to cleanse my brain of libertarianness. but recovery's a bit nerfed. But aside that, here was some day room critique by Michael Buxton. I think I saw the Marianne Williamson. Hold on, let's see. Marianne Williamson. Dave Rubin, total cluelessness, shocks. Let's see. Damn, my fucking YouTube is acting weird.
Just reviewed her schooling him on the notion of reparations and about this idea that we don't necessarily give reparations out of guilt. We give reparations because they're deserved, and we want to be able to, as a society, move forward and say we have made a mistake as a society, as all the institutions that remain. We made a mistake. We have done the best that we could do to make up for that mistake, and now we can move forward in many respects without that guilt, which is not to say we won't have the consciousness of what we did, but it's just that it will not be something that inhibits our ability to move forward.
Happen,
she explained that to him, but that's one thing. But what about if we get on more terra firma
policy?
Like policy.
Yeah, nuts and bolts.
Like foreign policy.
I'm a nuts and bolts guy.
Yeah, let's see. This is where Dave Rubin takes Marianne Williamson into the deep end of the pool, as it was. And watch out.
10 minutes before it was planned, we've got some very, very serious problems. That's why I want a Department of Peace. I want us to wage peace as assiduously and as effectively as we prepare for war.
I know you wouldn't want to give it to him, but does Trump deserve some credit for not doing that strike? If you got to call a minute before and 120 people are going to get killed? I will tell you what I think he does deserve credit for.
Yeah. In terms of Iran, no, it was the president who recklessly removed us from the Iran nuclear deal. That is what led up to that. The president taking us out of the Iran nuclear deal, out of a situation that was an international leveraging, where by all indicators, Iran was, that we know of, Iran was compliant. So now they've said the other day that they're going to go on and enrich uranium beyond.
Yeah, the stream is acting weird. I don't know what it is. My internet's fine. It's just like it's on the YouTube side for some reason. I don't know. Of course, it was happening on Lilah's birthday. Of course. Every other day has been fine. Let's see what it goes. It should be okay right now.
Beyond what the agreement called for, because we had pulled out? No, I cannot give the president any credit for what's happening with Iran. The fact that he was about to do something so unbelievably reckless. Because let me tell you something. Given the size of the Iranian army alone,
YouTube
you think
is dunking me
Iraq
right now.
was a catastrophe? Nothing compared to what war with Iran would look like. So obviously some hero, we don't know exactly who it was, but we know someone within the higher echelons of either his administration, his national security apparatus, or the military talked him out of it. That we can be very thankful to this person, whoever they were. The one place where I'll give some credit to the president, somebody had to stand up to China. So I'll give him that.
All right, so let's. I want to be respectful of your time here, so let's just knock out a couple other issues.
Very. I like that. She has a super conventional view on Chinese relations, which is pretty funny.
Well,
but that's CNBC talk right there.
Well, first off, what's also fascinating to me is that first off, Dave clearly stopped reading about that moment where he recalled the flight after like the first days of reporting, because by the second day of reporting, everyone is like, there's no way he's presented with a plan and told 10 minutes before that 120 people are going to die. That's what he's told on like the get-go.
Well, high drama.
This is
oh my God, it was like a TV show.
The get-go. And
Mr. President, wait. Some guys running with a note. Oh my God, they didn't tell me it would hurt 120 people. And Ruben's sitting there like, oh my God, thank God that guy got there in time.
The other thing that I enjoyed about that moment is I would wager everything that I have set aside for my children, not necessarily that I'm using now, for my children, that when she said, I am glad with what he's done with China, that Dave did not know what she was talking about.
Oh, without a doubt. Oh, yeah, dude. The China stuff is big. Dude, yep. Okay, so you give him credit.
I know you're running out of time, so I'm not going to.
We only have 10 seconds. I mean, I'd love to get into it. I read about China all the time, but you agree with him on China.
Let me just add this coda to this. Let me just add that. Yeah, let's just watch that little second again.
That we can be very thankful to this person, whoever they were. The one place where I'll give some credit to the president, somebody had to stand up to China. So I'll give him that.
All right, so let's. I want to be respectful of your time here.
All right. Look, let me just say this because I know there is a school of thought out there that, in particular, that I am a juvenile and sophomoric. I mean, it's clear that Michael is, but I wanted to defend myself from being juvenile and sophomoric, and in mockery and the idea of mockery, and I'm lessening the political. Look, I'm sorry, pointing out that this guy wanted to go on Twitter and brag about having a Democratic. Matt just put up a video of a hyena going after a caribou. Okay, look, listen. So I'm serious about this. There are members of the IDW who have criticized me publicly on much bigger platforms than this, mind you, of just being engaged in mockery for mockery's sake, for cheapening the political discourse. In my mind, when you go on and tout that you've got a Democratic presidential candidate on your show, and ostensibly because you want to show that you're willing to discuss issues and whatnot, and you don't do the basic research, like the moment, never mind the moment, everything I've done up to this moment, on top of the moment I found out that I'm going to interview anybody on anything, I go in and I start to read. And I read as much as I possibly can in the time frame that I have to prepare for it.
I read all the time. Slavery, what not.
And so when you just talk about like, you know, cheapening the political dialogue, that cheapens it.
Tell
to
your
go
friends
on
to read a
Twitter
book.
and talk about how journalists in quotes and reporters in quotes time and time again, and then sit down with whether it's a presidential candidate or it's some lunatic from Canada who has, you know, a quasi cult and say that we're both centrists. You're not doing your job, and you're poisoning the politics, not the mockery. That's just a form that some people like or don't like. But I'm talking about the content. And that's what's poisoning our politics. That you're going to allow BS to travel through the system in that way, and you're going to be one who is going to midwife it. That's what's poisoning the system. Not the rhetoric. Not the the YouTube title that is like sensational.
These one will be pretty sensational. Can we please
Here's
watch
him
this?
saying this.
Can we elevate the discourse?
Truth be told, I did not know a tremendous amount about you before the debate of a couple weeks ago. So let's just do a couple minutes.
Where's the milk thing? Do we still have that?
No, forget
Come
that.
on, it's too
We'll
good.
play that at the end.
All right, I just want to say briefly, this is fascinating to me. The Department of Peace idea goes back to 1793, where Benjamin Rush, who was a founding father, wrote an essay called A Plan of a Peace Officer for the United States, and he proposed putting it on an equal footing with the Department of War. It's fascinating that idea has such a deep history.
You would have, I mean, it makes sense.
It's a to me. It's
The
just,
Department of State is supposedly supposed to be like halfway there.
yeah,
right?
halfway there. But no, I mean, why not? It could be a serious investment in all forms of diplomacy and also broadening out the other kind of like civil society initiatives that someone like Daniel Bessner talks about when we move to a post-imperial foreign policy. It's actually, I mean, maybe at some point you use a different term just to sort of, you know, make it sound more official or whatever, but I think the concept is great.
Wait a minute. Let's go back to a libertarian. Let's switch it up. Libertarian falsely claims Sam Cedar won't debate him. Sam issues challenge.
Number 646-257-3920. Surely there must be a libertarian out there. I definitely got a bunch of tweets from some libertarians this weekend who were going on and on about calling into the program and et cetera, et cetera. They never show up during showtime. But surely some libertarian is going to call in and tell me why the people of these Scandinavian countries who are happier with higher taxes, more government programs, higher union density, greater financial and consumer and labor protections, regulations. Surely, some libertarian is going to call in and explain to me how these people just haven't taken the blue pill yet. Or is it the red pill, right? They're just all living the matrix. They don't know what makes them happy. Genuine happiness could be found back in the late 1800s in this country, where a man could wear a pistol on his belt and the cream rise to the top, and the rest of the cream had to sleep out on the dirt. Surely there must be one libertarian out there who wants to call in and make that argument to me. 646-257-3920 is the number. We have a special libertarian line we will open up. It'll be 646-257-3920.
This reminds me, last week on Twitter, a couple of our listeners, I think Jeremo and someone else, were going back and forth with this libertarian guy, Matt DeGeronimo.
Yes,
trying to get him to call into the show.
Well, no, he sent me an email. A tweet saying, "Do you want to have some type of reasoned argument with a libertarian?" I said, "Absolutely, of course. Email us at Majority Reporters." I never heard from him.
Well, over the weekend, because
Yeah.
I get all the Facebook comments we get, because
Yeah.
I'm an admin on our Facebook page, sent to my email. Over the weekend, I'm suddenly getting all these emails from our Facebook page saying people are posting on the Majority Report Facebook page. You know how people can post like their own, and it's like there's a others post area, and it's a few of his listeners saying, "Why won't you go on the Matt DeGeronimo show?
I'll go on it.
Are you too scared?" Apparently, he's probably been telling his listeners that you won't debate him, because I guess he was too lazy to send you an email.
So I'll be happy to go on his program and happy to invite him on this program. More than happy. Excited, in fact.
In fact, our listeners should find this guy's Facebook page and do what his listeners did to ours to his.
Why don't we just link it on the homepage?
Let me find it, and I'll put it on the
These people
blog.
don't get is that this is literally what Sam lives for.
Right.
Like, literally. This is...
I'm willing to ship off my children right now for the opportunity. I am Jimmy Sullivan. Dear the Deuce, I never had children, but I've been paying school taxes since 1972. Thanks, Obamacare.
This is the last scene, yep.
Carl Sagan. Most libertarians in
take
their
some
20s
work,
and
but
30s that
it's
I
the
know
last scene.
point to Ron Paul as having influenced their political ideology. How can libertarians excuse Ron Paul for stumping for a candidate like Ken Cuccinelli, who wanted to bring back sodomy laws? It seems really disgusting, especially if you claim personal freedom as the core of your political beliefs. Well, this is also the other issue, is that every single libertarian claims that they're the only true keeper of the fire of libertarianism. So we have libertarians who call this program, well, Ron Paul's not really a libertarian. You are besmirching libertarianism because you accept the fact that all these people who run around IDing themselves as libertarians are really libertarians. I am the one true libertarian. And then they go on to say the same exact thing that these other libertarians say, as if it's my responsibility to know which libertarians who come on this program or self-ID as libertarians in society are the true libertarians. I don't care. It's a political movement in this country. And if nobody knows what you're talking about, it's not my fault. I didn't define libertarianism. For the life of me, I can't quite figure out what it is. I talked to Stéphane Milieu, and he's telling me that it's really we should be paying parents to raise their kids better, and there wouldn't be any problems in society.
He is particularly demented.
Well, and then other people are saying, well, libertarianism is basically saying that it's okay for corporations to sell Pintos as long as they full disclosure and give a discount on the price for the Pinto blowing up. I mean, I don't know.
If you're in Scientology, we can't tell what like Phaeton level you've reached. We don't know.
Yeah, are we even supposed to know? I mean, is that
Oh, I
shared?
guess maybe not. Maybe we're not supposed to know Scientology. But I feel like there's been so many conversations that you've had that I've listened to and Matt's listened to that literally you could graph it. And it's like, first of all, like you say, you don't understand, Sam. That's not real libertarianism. I'm real libertarian. Here's why regulation is communism.
Wait a second. You forgot the part about, but you seem really condescending, Sam, to libertarians.
You seem really arrogant, Sam. Here's why you don't understand basic macroeconomic, human nature, sociology, history, politics, or ethics.
I mean, I've debated, what's his name, Peter Schiff, and then his brother called in. His brother was saying that he was a libertarian. Then we've had the Florida chair of the Florida Libertarian Party call in, and people are saying, well, he's not really a libertarian. Figure it out and call me. And you be the real libertarian of all the libertarian movements.
I don't personally endorse slavery.
Right.
That's my big liver. That's what I mean. What I was trying to get to is an
Sometimes it's
amazing
personal
number of
property,
people
uber alles,
that
is
you've
there-
gotten people to that point. Almost all of these self-identified libertarians can get pushed within 4 minutes to say something that's absolutely demented. Like, I can't really comment on slavery other than as like a personal moral preference.
Right. I mean, that's why I'm very excited to debate anybody, this Hawaiian radio host or anybody on this, because I feel like, half the conversations, 3/4 of the conversations I've had with libertarians is like, it gets down to the point of like playing chess against a computer that is like a 112K. You know what I mean? Like, they just have the same moves over and over again. They don't deviate.
I found his call to action telling his listeners to bombard you with messages. It's pretty funny.
What? Where is it? What is going on? I said yes!
It's on his Facebook.
When did he post it?
November 9th, yesterday.
I said yes on November 8th. Wait a second. This is funny. Because I don't know. Maybe the guy
I'm assuming he said it on his show on Friday because I definitely saw posts on before he posted this on Facebook.
Where is it? Yes. Okay. Oh, November 9th. Okay, here it is. It doesn't give time. No, at 4:22 p.m. on November 9th. And he sent it to me on, let's see, 11:48 p.m. on November 8th. So the next day.
He posted this Saturday, November 9th at midnight.
Well, what the frick? I said.
Yes, exactly.
He said, Sam Cedar, interested in discussing libertarianism in an intellectually honest manner with me.
Yes. You can't handle it.
And then I wrote back, yes, absolutely. Please email majorityreporters@gmail. Maybe he's pissed
dodging the debate.
Like I keep putting in majorityreporters@gmail, and it just keeps bouncing back to me. Why are you too afraid to include .com?
Help needed. There's a guy named Sam Cedar with a real bug up his butt. Butt spelled B-U-T, by the way. I guess the extra T is infringing on his liberty and freedom.
Right.
For libertarianism. A quick-witted liberal who I perceive to be arrogant and disingenuous.
True.
Who relies on sleight of hand and freshman-level debate ploys to embarrass the libertarians he has on his show. He has this theory that nobody, all caps, can defend libertarianism. He proves, quote-unquote, this theory by having an open invitation to debate anyone willing to prove him wrong. Given that he ignores my request to do so, I can only assume he, quote-unquote, cherry picks who he debates. Please help me extend my challenge to debate him anytime, anywhere. You can contact him on Twitter at Sam Cedar or on his Facebook at facebook.com/majority-report.
Why does these guys should call in now? 646-257-3920. They'll clear all the lines for Matt DiGiorgio or whatever his name is.
He's got some funny there's some funny comments from his listeners, actually. We'd love to hear if you actually get a response. And then another guy goes, haha, this guy sounds like the POTUS.
This is like the cutting edge of like Obama right-wing echo chamber. I love it.
Can we get Sam doing an Obama impression saying, I don't sound like the POTUS?
It would be Obama saying like, yes, I'll debate you. No problem. I'll be there. Anytime, anywhere. And they respond, yeah, you can't handle it. You won't debate us.
I don't get it.
The downbeat almost like this.
It's sort of a little.
I said yes.
It's a little bit
I
taxing.
said yes.
The downbeat's almost like this.
Why can't you take yes for an answer?
You're like, what venue would you like? You want to do it on my show or your show? You won't have the courage of your conviction.
I want you to fly to Hawaii and do it in person. Sam Cedar refuses to fly to Hawaii and do it in person. That's what it's going to be. Like, I wanted to do this on the top of an active volcano, but Sam Cedar said no.
Let me tell you, not only that.
The funny thing
if
is,
you
if
covered
you said
half
that, you
of
would not say no. Active volcano.
Yeah, if you
let's do
covered
this.
half of Sam's plane ticket.
Are you kidding?
He can get away from his family.
If you can,
be a libertarian. There's so many wins here.
If you can,
loser gets melted by magma.
Which is incidentally what should happen to children who don't have economically well-off parents.
Oh man.
I try that
That's
tactic
just so
in
bizarre. I mean, are his listeners too stupid to say, like, I'm going to go check out this Sam Cedar on his Twitter page? Hey, wait a second. He said yes. Matt, I don't know if you've seen Sam Cedar's Twitter page, but he said yes. This is embarrassing. The guy's going to start off like he's already embarrassed himself. I said yes before you issued the challenge.
You can't handle it. No, I think
Mike's
I
Brooks
can.
laughing off
You
screen.
did not use the time machine to accept my challenge 2 weeks ago.
And the reason we don't have a time machine is because it's not a real free, use the free market.
That's right. Government interference. Otherwise, we'd have a time machine.
This one's just simply titled Libertarians, This is the Best You Got.
All right, here it is.
Not the IMs, but the horrible
This
clips.
is, Penn Jillette and recut for Sam Cedar. He literally recut it specifically for me.
How nice.
Phil Nye and Penn Jillette arguing. Here we go.
It's very fashionable right now It seems to me, for example, the people. Now wait a second. Yeah, I know, I understand, but I thought Penn Jillette on Twitter said that he doesn't believe in these things. Maybe Penn.
Not this one. We'll save that for later. What's this one? Converted libertarian nails the psychology of the right with Mike Brooks.
You are calling from a 208 area code. Who are you? Where are you calling from?
Hey, this is Josh from Spokane.
Hey, Josh.
First of all, I just want to say you guys are killing it.
Thank you.
As of like the summer of this year, I was like a full-blown libertarian, and you guys like straight up converted me, and super grateful for that.
I bet everything. I feel like Trump. I bet you're feeling much more mellow, much more cool.
Yes.
Your dating life is a lot more successful. You're not getting into weird arguments with people. You're a much better person.
You're not defending being against civil rights.
Yeah, you're not defending apartheid because of gold. You're doing great.
Well, I live in Spokane, so I'm in like the reddest part of Washington, and I grew up in Idaho. Like I was basically brought up on Rush Limbaugh and Glenn Beck, so
damn,
I've been able to narrowly avoid some arguments. But I mean, one of the things that you guys really help me out with is like conservative background. Like there's such a de-emphasis on research and looking into facts, and there's such an emphasis on principles and philosophy, and like I'm a big psychology and philosophy guy. I'm in the field of psychology, so that really clicked with my brain when I was a young person. But just your guys' ability to analyze that's been really helpful. But in my attempt to try and do my part in kind of combating misinformation, and trying to approach it more from a not an ethos, but like a philosophical perspective. One of the things
you want to play Smash after this, Leon?
Your feedback on this, because I know you guys
might stream
have
for a little bit
lot
longer. We
experience,
can play Smash.
Dealing with conservatism as an ideology. But what struck me is that
No, I bet you have actually. To be honest, man, it sounds like you were in it. Yeah.
Yeah. But I mean, like from the other side, like
okay.
I don't know how familiar you guys are with psychology, but are you generally aware of the whole theory of cognitive dissonance?
Yeah, to some degree, sure. I mean, if you'd like to define it, I think it's a term that gets thrown around a lot, but I don't know how many people actually have a good definition of it, to be honest.
Okay, so cognitive dissonance is basically, you can think of it like a form of hypocrisy. So it's like, you know smoking is bad, but you smoke. And so you have this dissonance in your cognitive structure, so to speak. And so basically, the theory of cognitive dissonance is that having that is uncomfortable, psychologically speaking. You have to do something with that. You can't just live a contradiction and be okay with that for the most part. So a lot of times people will justify it, or they'll quit smoking, or they'll just say, maybe it isn't that bad for you. They'll come up with some way basically to diffuse that tension.
Right.
And there's a really specific kind of structure of cognitive dissonance called the belief in a just world, which is specifically cognitive dissonance used for like victim blaming. So you see that something horrible happened to someone, and rather than trying to figure out like what the actual cause of this is, you just say, well, that person probably deserved it because the police wouldn't actually shoot someone who wasn't guilty.
Right, and you can move it up the metaphysical scale. You could say that they've offended God somehow, or it's their karma, whatever. Yeah.
Exactly. And so, what seems to me like that's maybe not the entire realm of conservatism, but it seems to be a huge, like, have the lion's share of kind of their principles, because you go from things from wealth inequality and this idea of pulling yourself up by your bootstraps, and that the system is just because we were able to use it to live a good life. Why would that be any different for someone who's in the inner cities? Why would that be different if your skin's a different color? And then they'll use things like the color of your skin shouldn't matter to create this false equivalency to say that just because your life shouldn't have any difference because of the color of your skin, that it doesn't. And basically there's this whole self-reinforcing thing that this kind of the whole thing with Trump of Make America Great Again, that there's this kind of phantom America that is good and that is just, and basically that they leverage that belief that the system, that this idealistic America is just, and that we just need to get back to that. And so anyway, I don't know. I've just been trying to figure this out because I've got a really good relationship with my family. I'd rather not fuck that up.
Yeah, no, I get that. I think family is different. I mean, I think that there's also a lot of different versions of it, to be honest with you. I think that one of the things that's been disturbing to me, I actually talked with a friend. I talked with Max Blumenthal about this years ago. And we were talking about when he was, because he did a book called Republican Gomorrah, which is a pretty good book. It's a very good book on the sort of religious right dimension of all of this stuff, which is still potent, but it's less ascendant now, it seems. And this is like in 2012. So we were talking about Andrew Breitbart, probably around the time he died. And what he was saying was like when he would report it on these Christian, like the real Christian dominionist fanatics, they still had the ethos that like you have to be polite to the visitor. You have to. There was some like social inculcation of like at least sort of social norms of what you would associate with Christianity. And now we're moving into this place of like just pure sort of like hierarchy, dominator kind of abuse and enjoyment. Like you saw this, there was a video that came out during Obamacare when, it was like these people were protesting Obamacare and they were berating a homeless guy who was disabled. And there was sort of like this point of like the shift from different ways of justifying those hierarchies, but one of them where it was like this real enjoyment of kind of hierarchy and abuse. I think there's other people, there's a documentary called Color of Fear, I think it's called, where it's basically, I saw it in college, but I remember that it's this kind of racially diverse group of men basically having a conversation about gender and race. And I don't remember why, how the people were selected, but it was supposed to be all men and it was racially balanced in a certain way. And there was one white guy who just simply wouldn't like, he was the stereotype of the like, I don't know what you guys are talking about. Everything's great. And then there was this moment where another guy, this guy Victor Lewis, who's an educator, really called him out. And he actually got almost teared up. And he was like, well, if what you're saying is true, then that's just horrible. And I don't know how to live in that country, basically.
Yeah.
So he actually had a conscience. It just was obfuscated by all the bullshit. But the last thing I'll say is I think some of it, I do think of it psychologically, because I just think some of it is like in certain models of development I've seen that maturity is correlated with an expanded circle of concern. So if you're born and all you can perceive is yourself because there's no separation between like a baby's identity and everything is just kind of, it's totally innocent and fine, but there's no distinction between like, well, a baby's not going to not cry because someone else is sleeping and will be woken up, right? Because all they can perceive is their own kind of experience of the world. And then there's a notion and then it extends to family, and you think of your family, and then it extends potentially to your group. And then, ultimately it has to have some type of global expansion where you realize, and again, maybe from an anthropological perspective, that's all made up and fictitious too. And, the foundations of things like human rights are really slippery. But there is a sense.
There is definitely a tribal pattern to that.
Yeah, but you evolve through a broadened field of care and empathy. And it does seem that a lot of politics, to drastically simplify it, does involve on that level, when you're talking the level of psychology, other stuff is just power, interest, and those types of things, which I think we focus on more. But I think that the part that you're talking about, a lot of it could just be measured by whom do you consider to be part of your circle of care, essentially. And there are divisions in that. But yeah, that's my kind of last thought on it. You have a final thought before we jump off?
Yeah, I mean, that makes a lot of sense because, you're talking about like legitimizing hierarchies, and like that's true in some aspects, but, like the far right does a lot to delegitimize, like, elites in a lot of other areas.
Totally.
Hollywood and
they're into money hierarchy.
Even just rappers.
Yeah, well, rappers are. Well, we all know why they might delegitimize rappers.
Yeah, exactly. And I think that's an interesting idea with the circle of care and like who they're actually concerned about. I hadn't thought about that, but yeah, I think what's the final thought I had, I think that my strategy so far has been like dealing with my parents. Like recently, my mom told me she heard on the radio like they had one of their their stable of African American conservatives come on and talk about how entitled young black men are, and that there was some book about it she wanted to get. And
Jesus Christ.
I know, right? Yeah.
Right.
And I was like, well, like, what the fuck? Like, you talk about how every goddamn millennial is entitled. Like, what's so special about this? And so I just asked, like, so what's different? Like, what makes young black men more entitled than apparently every young person who's entitled?
Right.
And she's like, oh, I don't know. I never thought about that. And I think just identifying the cognitive dissonance, not on a necessarily a fact level, but even just like within their own psychology, like, you got some problems with this. Like, I don't know.
Yeah, no, I agree.
So
That's a
fortunate
great.
that,
That's a
but,
great point.
Thank
I
you guys
appreciate the
for
call.
fighting the good fight.
Thanks. I hope you
Yeah,
keep
have a good
calling in,
one.
man. Thank you. Bye.
Hey, it's Sam Cedar. Why don't you subscribe to this channel? You can do so.
All right, we're gonna watch Uno Mas. Uno Mas. We'll end it on a good note. Angry constitutional loving caller nearly has a brain aneurysm. It's a good one to end on.
Hey, my name is Doug.
Oh, what the fuck? This is not Sam. This is Matt. But
What's up, Doug?
Hello?
Yeah, what's up?
I'm calling from Honolulu. This is my first time. Honolulu is East County of San Diego, and this is my first time calling or looking at your show, so I'm not too sure about what to expect. So I want to ask you a simple question just to gauge where you're at.
Sure.
Are you ready?
Go ahead.
Okay, what is the ideology of the Constitution, and what is it called?
What is the ideology of the Constitution and what is it called?
That's that's like a very heavily debated thing, right?
Yes.
No, it's not. It's really simple if you understand the Constitution.
Well, why don't, since obviously being like New York Jews, we probably don't. Why don't you
Yeah,
explain
tell
that
us
to
then.
us?
Well, give a stab. Let me just see what you think the ideology of the
I actually
Constitution
already.
is.
Well, I told you this
Oh,
as a
now,
guy. I told you.
I'll tell you what.
Okay, go ahead.
Okay, you ready?
Yes, go ahead.
Okay, the ideology of the Constitution is limited government with enumerated powers, and it's called republicanism. This is not the republicanism of the Republican Party. It is the republicanism of the Constitution.
Can I ask you a quick question, sir?
Sure.
Do you teach anywhere?
Of course, I teach every day.
All right. So what do you want? So other than getting, and I know I had no doubt that that's where you were going.
Riddle
So
me
what's
this.
the point of the call? What would you like to discuss?
The point of the call is first to gauge where you are constitutionally, which is really
Well,
what, by my
here's
opinion,
where I'm at constitutionally. I'm aware that when the Constitution was written, if you recall history, women were not allowed to vote or participate. There was slavery.
Yes.
So many American citizens were literally brought in bondage from another continent, raped, beaten, families destroyed, murdered, tortured, quote unquote, seasoned in the Caribbean before they came to plantations in the South and were sold across the country. I'm aware of that. And I'm also aware that under Lincoln, just as one example, we had in some respects what some would argue, like a guy like Akil Amar at Yale, a second founding, where we went actually and we shifted from an original conception of really being based on states' rights, which ironically, and from a libertarian perspective, not from our perspective, is very distinct from individual rights. So you might have a point that in the initial founding, the notion was that the state was preeminent, not individual human rights, and also not a national or a sovereign like the king, obviously, because that's who the revolution was against. But after the elimination of slavery, the Civil War, we established a notion of universal rights under that vision of America and the 14th Amendment and so on. Now, obviously, that vision, since it happened, has been under assault, and we've continued, because this isn't just slavery. We've had a system through the early 60s after the Civil War of American apartheid and Jim Crow, not to mention many other crimes against Chinese, against the Mexicans, not to mention the original genocide of the Native Americans. So I'm aware that there is one constitutional tradition that is in touch with history, that knows reality, that is serious about policy, and applies constitutional values to advance, according to our founding documents as well, life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. So that's the tradition I'm in. So that's where you can gauge us.
Actually, I'm not disagreeing with any of that, except that maybe you might be a little bit too much on the side of Howard Zinn, or do you kind of like value what he says in his skewed version of history?
Well, I think everybody's version of history is skewed, and I don't think anybody's the final word. But absolutely, Howard Zinn has a lot of valid points, of course. What would you disagree with that Howard Zinn said?
Because he has a skewed, very skewed version of American history.
Give an example.
Where's he wrong?
Okay, but anyway, it's besides that. Okay. So when I speak about the republicanism of the Constitution, it stands today, and you got to admit, democracy was not part and not favored by the framers. The framers hate democracy more than I do. And you know why they hate democracy?
Why? Because they like having slaves?
Mob rule. They knew that in order for our Republican form of government to work, the people must have a religious background, be virtuous and morally correct. Once people no longer have moral values and become corrupt and cruel, they are in need of masters. And the progressive movement is more than happy to be that master or tyrant of these people. That's what progressivism is, in direct contradiction and what I say, sedition to the Constitution, because they're trying to undermine the original intent of the Constitution and change the text to whatever promotes progressive dogma instead of going through Article 5.
Wait a second. You just said you agreed.
Hold
on.
I just want to let
Yeah,
you
it's
know
insult
something
to
for a
Moriarty.
second. What are your feelings on welfare?
Wait.
Well, hold on. What are your feelings on welfare?
All right, instead of going through the Article 5 amendment process to change the intent of the text of the Constitution, they just believe in getting a simple majority of 51% wherever they gain power, whether in Congress or what branch of the government, especially the Supreme Court.
Wait a second.
And just change the text.
Wait. Yo, buddy, hold on. 2 quick points, and you can definitely call back in, but we're running up against the clock. Number one, when I laid out that history, that very brief sketch of the founding through Lincoln, through the present day, and the distinction between states' rights and individual rights, you said you mostly agreed with that account. Then you turned around and said we're not supposed to be a democracy. Now, I just want to say, I'm assuming you would probably consider yourself a libertarian, correct?
No, I believe a libertarian utopia is just as unattainable as a socialist one.
All right, well, you know what? Credit where credit is due. You are a guy who does not believe in the expansion of rights and the broader inclusion of democracy.
Wait, who's my guy?
You.
Who's my guy?
I said
You said you are the guy.
You are a guy.
Okay, I thought you might be referring to like Rand Paul or Ted Cruz or something.
No, I don't think so. I get that you represent a different position. I think it's
obviously. My position is I am a constitutional Republican. My position is the Constitution as it was. The amendments were intended.
So should we restore slavery and eliminate women's rights to vote?
No, it changed because of the amendment process.
Okay.
So things can change.
But only with the proper amendment process. So you're kind of like Scalia might be the closest person to you.
Exactly, now you get it. Exactly, now you get it.
Okay, I get it.
Okay, and so you can't change the text just because you don't like the meaning of the text when you get 51% of the vote and decide to change the meaning of the text to whatever progressive dogma you want.
Okay, so first of all right, so here's my point, and you can call in again, but we got to wrap this up. Number one, you are aware that all of the founders did not have the same ideology, I hope. They had radically, as example, look at Jefferson and Hamilton, the debate between federal and local power. Jefferson's was, and leaving aside his own obviously horrific relationship with slavery and rape and everything else, but he was far more concerned. If you look at the way he talked about corporate power and money, that sounds like Bernie Sanders, Ralph Nader, or Elizabeth Warren. Okay, and then but he also was more partial to a more local approach because he thought that would be the best sort of cudgel to fight against moneyed interest. Hamilton had an entirely different approach. So even when you say go back to the text and go back to the founding, there's already a huge problem because there is no one version of that. This was interpreted and contested from the beginning. That's why we have political parties. And even in a Republican system, you're still acknowledging some role of voting, some role of debate. So already that doesn't stand. And secondly, no, let me finish my point. And secondly, it is delusional to say, look, do you want to have medicine operating on your body in the same way it was in the 17th century at the time of the founding? Do you?
Now you're filibustering.
No, I'm asking you a question. No, I'm asking you a question.
Here's the point.
Do you want to get operated on by a doctor at the same point as the founding?
Wait. Let me finish. Going back to the Constitution. The Constitution interpretation was defined and understood during debates, or it would never have been signed and ratified.
No, it was signed, of course, because it was a process of debate and compromise, and they disagreed.
Thomas Jefferson is dead, okay? The founders, everyone who signed that is dead. Times have changed. We've let you go on for a really long time. Michael's trying to be really civil with you. You keep interrupting him. I'm going to let you go now. You can feel free to call back in. But if you love the Constitution so much, that's great. But let me tell you what, the people who signed it, the people who wrote it are dead now. If they came here right now and saw the device in your hand that you're talking to us with, they would say, holy fucking shit, what the hell is that? So things have changed. The founders weren't all knowing. They're a bunch of old, slave-owning, women-beating losers when it comes down to some things.
They were all losers or wife-beating.
But there was a number of them that were. So there you go, buddy. Take care. I was just getting fed up with the way he was constantly coming at you like that when you're having a civil conversation with him.
Doing my best, but, what are you going to do?
Jesus Christ. This show, you're allowed to come on more so than any other show and go for it as long as you like, as long as you have something to say. We have never cut anybody off if there was a conversation going and we weren't up to any clock, like someone had to be somewhere, Sam had to go pick up his kids or something like that. You get 20, 30, 40-minute phone calls on this show. We expect that you basically have the common decency that when someone is talking, yes, in the type of conversation we have, sometimes you'll find yourself interrupting without realizing, and someone will say, can you hold on? And that's your cue to hold on. That's not your cue to keep talking over the person.
Right. That's right.
I was just getting fed up with the guy.
Matt is a strict originalist.
We gave him like.
I know, and I hope. By the way, I hope that guy's wife appreciates it. I hope he got something off of his chest for the day.
You got to be kidding me.
But I will say that is a different. We don't hear that perspective. That isn't a libertarian. That is a old line. That's the closest would be a guy like Scalia. So call in again and maybe have a drink before you do.
Yeah.
Or not have a drink. I don't know, whichever way.
We let him ramble by himself for a long time, and then you tried to get a point through, and he keeps cutting you off. No, that's not how it works.
Well, he's an angry guy.
Minutes later.
619. What's your name? Where you calling from?
Hey, if you're going to bash me, you should let me have my say. I'm more than happy to let you finish talking. If you let me finish talking,
we had absolutely let you went on and on, and then Michael was making a point. Is there any other show that let you espouse this view for as long as you just did?
Yes.
Really, name it.
It's the Mike Slater Show.
The Mike Slater Show.
All right.
Who's Mike Slater?
We don't have time for this. You can call back on Monday, sir.
He's a local talk show host, but that's beside the point. I'm more than happy.
Call on Monday. Call on Monday.
Feel free to call on Monday.
After 1. We're ready for you.
Unbelievable. BDX. 2 things that irritate me. Right-wingers who pretend that representative democracy is not a form of democracy. And 2, people who interpret the U.S. Constitution like a holy text. I took that call, by the way, because I had a feeling it was him.
Yeah, I saw your little smirk.
Mark in the 810. This constitutional Republican just yells and doesn't listen. Thank you. Exactly.
Yeah.
Interesting. All right, we got a ton of videos, guys, for next time, but then we're gonna wrap it up. I need to dunk Leon. But yeah, we're gonna wrap it up. Happy birthday, Lilah. Hope you had a good one. And yeah, it's Thursday already, so no stream Friday, no stream the weekend. We'll be back Monday. And hopefully next week we can wrap this up and go from there. But guys, have a good night for now. And I'll talk to you later. Have a good one, guys. Peace.